This is Inside Arkansas Politics, a We the People, For the People movement with Courtney Roland, an Arkansas voice you can trust for truth and transparency.
Hello, this is Courtney Roldan with Inside Arkansas Politics. I know on my last podcast I talked about the state convention and the things that the grassroots Republicans had gotten done at the state convention. So today I'm going to talk about what has happened since then. Actually, a lot has happened. Today is August 9th when I'm recording this podcast, and I'm going to start off with just making sure everyone's aware that anything that I state here, they are my opinions alone. They are not representative of any committee or group that I'm involved in. I just want to make that clear because sometimes my opinions are a little more harsh than what groups that I'm involved in would be willing to admit. And so I just want to make that clear. So first I'm going to start off with who is part of the RPA leadership. So our chairman for the Republican Party of Arkansas is Joseph Wood. Our first vice chair is John Park. Our second vice chair is June Wood, who is the wife of Joseph Wood, the chair. Our treasurer is Nelda Speaks, and our secretary is Julie Harris. And then our district chairs are, the first district is Sarah Dunklin, the second is Jennifer Lancaster, and the third is Susan Gessler. The fourth district, the chairman was Eddie Arnold. He is now our national committee man. So I'm actually not sure who is in that position at this time. I know there will be an election sometime, but at this time, I'm not sure who is the 4th District Chair. And then our National Committee woman is Mindy McAlinden, who is also a state representative. And like I said, our National Committee man is Eddie Arnold. I talked about last time how on June 8th, we had our state convention. It was in Rogers, Arkansas. The grassroots Republicans made huge changes. We closed the primaries. We changed the makeup of the state committee and a lot of other things. And when I post this, I can list an article from Conduit News that will tell you everything that was done at the state convention. And it'd probably be easier just to be able to read it for yourself. So since then, the chairman from Benton County, Barbara Tillman, supposedly filed a complaint, which no one has seen besides maybe the RPA leadership. I'm not sure because I was a state convention delegate. I've not seen a complaint. I don't know anyone that has seen a complaint. So I don't know anyone that has seen a complaint. As far as I know, there was a complaint submitted by Barbara Tillman alone, and an opinion was done by Brenda Harris, and that is what led to a meeting recently by the executive committee. They sent out an email to the executive committee on, I believe, Monday around 4 p.m. And there was a meeting on that Thursday at noon. And so that email basically stated that they were going to meet to vote on overturning what the state convention did. So in our rules, it, as clear as can be, states the state convention is the final authority on all party matters. What that means is the state convention is the authority on all party matters. It doesn't matter if the executive committee doesn't like what is done at the state convention. They have no authority and no right to overturn it. The convention actually delegates authority to the executive committee. In no world is a committee who is delegated power by a state convention able to overturn what that state convention accomplished. It is absurd that anyone even believes that that is how it works. I'm actually pretty surprised at how many people keep saying, well, there were rules violated, which there wasn't. But the fact is, by even holding this meeting to try to attempt to do this, you're also violating rules. So if you are outraged by rule violations, you look like a hypocrite when you turn around and violate rules yourself. That is what they have done. So during this executive committee meeting, there was 23 people that were there. Some were on Zoom, but 23 total votes. And so 18 of those people voted to overturn everything that was done at the state convention. And so because I believe that transparency is always best, I'm going to list off those 18 and I'm going to tell you who they are and what I know. So the first I'm going to talk about is June Wood, who is married to the chairman, Joseph Wood. She also works in the Secretary of State's office. It is my belief that every person, all 18 of these people, voted the way that they did because they either are in fear of being replaced come December when we have new elections, or they knew that there would be no way that they would be reappointed to these rules and platform committees because they don't follow rules and they do not care about the voice of the people. So the first one would be June Wood. Clearly, she's going to vote with her husband. That's why you shouldn't have people who are married on the same committee. Sorry, that's just the way it is. Then we have Sharon Lloyd, who is the president of the Arkansas Federation of Republican Women and previously worked with Joseph Wood. She is known to violate rules in AFRW to get the outcome she wants, and also has been heard calling people like grassroots Republicans hostile MAGA takeover. And Barbara Tillman, Benton County chair, and she's on the Rules Committee and filed this mystery complaint. But prior to the convention, she was caught on video outside telling her committee that there was going to be some troublemakers, but they're ready for them. So I guess by being ready, what she was talking about was she was ready to file this complaint. That's how I'm understanding it. She also told her committee that if they ask what you're doing or who you are, you don't have to tell them. I mean, that's all on video. She knows she said it. Everyone else knows she said it too, if they care to listen. So then we have Susan Gessler. I don't know a lot about her, but she's the 3rd District Chair. And from what I've seen, she typically sides with the establishment. And Blake Johnson is a senator and on the platform committee. A lot of you will recognize his name because he was the person who was a little hostile when we had the special session when they were trying to gut the FOIA in Arkansas. Iverson Jackson, a lot of people believe that he's a patriot. He has been appointed to a position by the governor, and from what I've seen, he sides with the establishment the majority of the time, so you can take that for what you will. Nelda Speaks is the treasurer for the RPA. Gabby Harvey is involved in the College Republicans. She used to work in the governor's office, and from what I've witnessed, she sides with the establishment as well. Julie Harris is the president of the National Federation of Republican Women and the RPA secretary, and she is the person who was on the credentials committee that would not actually allow the credentials committee to have the credentials list, and then they were supposed to vote to approve the credentials without ever even seeing who was on the list. So we know where she sides. Then we have Belinda Ritter Harris. She is the person who Joseph Wood, when he was first became chair, he added her as a vote on the executive committee. Well, when it was brought out that that's illegal, she's not allowed to have a vote, that she had to be removed from her voting position. So then at Joseph Wood's first state committee meeting, he proposed a rules change that would give her a voting position. That failed. Then he went on to appoint her to the rules committee. We obviously see why he fought so hard to have her on the committee, because she's a yes man. Larry Walther is the treasurer for Arkansas. I don't know anything else about him. Mindy McLendon is a state representative and the national committee woman. I don't know Marie Holder. And then Howard Beatty is a state representative. I don't know Sharon Wright. And then AJ Kelly is the RPA legal counsel, and he clearly sides with the establishment from any time I've ever seen. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the complaint that supposedly was filed by Barbara Tillman. I'm not going to list everything, but I'm just going to tell you what is actually accurate. So her complaint talks about a motion failing. There was never a motion that needed to be made for the state convention to hear the timely submitted rules or platform changes. There was never a motion that needed to be made, because we are allowed to hear timely submitted platform and rules changes, period. The Rules Committee and the Platform Committee can make recommendations. They do not have the unilateral authority to decide what is heard and not heard by the state convention. They just don't. They can give a recommendation, and then whatever they recommend, that is supposed to be sent out by the county chairs. Since they didn't recommend any, there was none to be sent out. These are the facts. What Barbara Tillman is saying, who knows where she got that? It's definitely not from the RPA rules. And another thing is they claim that the RPA or state convention adjourned at midnight on the day of the convention. That's obviously false, because it is on video. We recessed subject to recall of the chair. Almost every county convention also recesses subject to recall of the chair. Why? Because when you have your convention, if you adjourn, you can't go back and do anything else. I know many committees who have had to go back. They had a runoff or anything like that. They had to go back and reconvene their convention to approve their candidate. So to say that we adjourned at midnight when we clearly recessed subject to recall of the chair, it's a lie. She's lying. That's the only option. There's no other choice but to say that she's clearly lying. And I want everyone to know that the establishment, the RPA leadership, did not want to give the Credentials Committee. They were very secretive about pretty much everything. They did not want to send out the submitted rules changes or platform changes because they didn't want the people to see what was being done. The Patriot, grassroots Republicans, whatever you want to call us, we were transparent from the beginning. We had Zoom calls, and not only that, but the entire convention was live streamed. Clearly, if we had something to hide, do anyone think that we would be live streaming? No. So she sends in I guess she files her complaint, and then they get another establishment person, Belinda Harris, to make an opinion. This isn't a court. We don't need an opinion. I mean, we don't need her opinion. It's irrelevant. It actually is irrelevant. Her opinion means nothing. It just means that she sided with the establishment, which is no surprise. So then, as soon as they get this committee, which they know that they'll have the votes because it is heavily establishment. There is only 5 people who voted against this illegal action, and that is Anita Wells, Steve Smith, Jennifer Lancaster, Sarah Dunklin, and Brant Smith. Those are the only 5 that actually evidently even know the rules or read them or understand that this is not, you can't do this. So as immediately after this, they have this meeting and, they have the votes. They already knew that going in. So Joseph Wood states that he's using Article 7, Section 2 of the RPA Rules. 1, that entire section never once mentions state convention or delegates. It says committees, committee members, district committee members, and county committee members. There was never any call made to the accused party. They never seen the complaint. In the rules, it states after you get a complaint, you're supposed to alert the accused party, and then you are supposed to try to work it out. That was never done. There was nothing mentioned to the accused party. There was no 30 days given to resolve the matter, no written warning. Literally, nothing in that section was followed. And then he goes on to say, because there was a complaint made, they go on to say that they're using Article 7, Section 1. Well, first, that section states that it has to be signed by at least 5 people. Barbara Tillman is one person. It says that there has to be a review committee formed. There was not. There has to be an investigation. There was not. Then it says that the parties involved have to be given a notice and allowed to give a written representation of their side. That was not done. So since there was no review committee formed, there was no 30 days to review it. There was no investigation. There was no 10 days notice. For a group of people with this much fake outrage over rules being broken, they seem to have forgotten all the rules that apply to what they're even trying to claim they are doing. I mean, they literally didn't even follow one part of the rule. I'm going to read Article 7, Section 1. I'm just going to read part of it. It says, request for review. Members of a county or district committee may file a request for review with the state chairman if there is evidence of a failure within the county or district committee to observe these rules and/or local rules of the county or district committee. A request for review may be filed if signed by not less than 1/5 of the active membership of the county or district committee, provided that in no instance shall a request for review be filed by less than 5 members. I mean, the very first paragraph of the rule that even Belinda is stating, they didn't even follow that. It goes on to say that the request for review shall be filed in writing with the state party chairman by U.S. mail or email. The state party chairman shall appoint a review committee within 15 days of receipt of the request to review, to include the following, which would be district chairman, district representative to the state committee, at least one other member of the state executive committee, chairman of the state party rules committee, one county chairman from a county outside the district from which the request was received, a Republican Party of Arkansas staff member. None of that was followed. They did not form a committee. They did not include any of those people. The review committee shall investigate the matter referred, review appropriate documents, receive and review written representations from the parties involved in the dispute. That wasn't done. The review committee shall hold hearings with members of the county or district committee, which, please understand, this still has never mentioned state convention or delegate. So it's actually kind of, it's funny if it wasn't so sad how ridiculous they are, but clearly this never mentions state convention or delegate. So the review committee shall hold hearings with members of the county or district committee if it deems necessary within 30 days of the appointment of the review committee. So you can't just file a complaint, get an opinion, and then have a vote by executive committee. That is stupid to even think that that is the way it works. Anyone who is spouting off this crap either was in risk of losing a position, wouldn't have been reelected come December when we have elections, or they for some reason have some blind loyalty to Joseph Wood, because anyone that had any integrity would tell him, you're not following the rules. You cannot do that. I'm sorry, but there is no one that is, those 18 people clearly are showing a lack of integrity by lying and going along with this. Like I said, I can be a little harsh. I truly believe that it is the time for people to be harsh, because we have a country that is basically burning down around us, and we do not have time to be fighting with our own party over rules that are so clearly stated. This is the most absurd crap that I've ever even seen. It is so clearly written that they did not follow rules. They cannot do this, but yet we have people going along with this, acting like this was actually done properly. It is embarrassing. It is embarrassing that we have leadership in our Republican Party of Arkansas that either know our rules so little or just don't care about the voice of the people and don't care about the rules. There's no in between. You can't go along with this and say that it's the right thing and then also say that you believe in the rules and the platform or anything. This is being done because they didn't like what was done at the convention, and this is being done because they're throwing a temper tantrum. That's the reality of it. We have state legislators who are mad because their voice was silenced. Hello, you still write legislation. You still vote on laws. At what time has your voice been silenced? Have you ever sat through a county committee where they didn't even allow you to speak? Probably not. Have you ever sat through a district committee where they wouldn't allow you to be heard? Probably not. Have you ever sat through a state committee where you are on the state committee and been told to sit down and shut up? Doubtful. Those people have been silenced. Legislators have not been silenced. We didn't elect you to run the state party. We elected you to make laws and work for your district. Your vote to be a state representative, state senator, whatever, does not give you the authority to run the state party. And we know a lot of them are just mad because the state committee is where they go in and they do exactly what the governor tells them to. We get it. We know that's why you're mad. We just think it's ridiculous, but we do get it. We do understand that that is why you're mad. We just hope that you realize that the state party chair and the governor, they don't vote for you. The people in those county committees, they're the ones out putting out your signs and knocking on doors, I'm sure, making phone calls and voting for you, standing at the polls, holding your signs. Those are your county committee members, not the state party chair and not the governor and not anyone else in the RPA leadership. That's the harsh reality. Why any legislator is going along with this, knowing it is a clear violation of the rules and, from what I understand, state law. I just don't understand why you would go along with something that is so clearly a violation of our rules and so clearly a slap in the face to your county committee members that were elected to go and vote at the state convention. Because every single person was allowed to run for a state convention spot, and they were allowed to attend. So if you chose not to run for a state delegate or a convention delegate spot, that's on you. I did, and all hundreds of other people did, and they went and their voice was heard. And you do not get to throw a temper tantrum and then have it overturned because you have 18 people that are going to vote with Joseph Wood no matter what he does or says, regardless if he breaks a rule, breaks a law. It doesn't matter. They're going to go along with what he says. That behavior is pretty disgusting and disturbing, actually. If I was a state legislator, I would not be involved in this. I would go with what the state convention did because that is the authority, not the state executive committee and the 18 yes men. Those are just people who are doing what they're told. Let's be honest here. They're doing what they're told, probably by a lot of legislators and the governor, if I had to guess, but that's just me making an assumption. So they always had a plan to try to keep the state convention from even doing anything. They moved it to Northwest Arkansas. They did not send out the timely submitted rules changes. They would not allow the credentials committee to see the list. They actually had a meeting and told the credentials committee, we don't have any objections, so we just need you to just go and vote with it. Just vote for it. Just vote and approve them all, and it's fine because we saw it, so just trust us. We know what we're doing. They only reserved the room that we had the convention at, I think, for 4 hours. That's because they didn't expect us to actually elect a state party chair who knew what they were doing. They expected it to be Joseph Wood, who doesn't know how to lead a meeting, and he would have had his the parliamentarian that the RPA chose and hired to basically lead the meeting for him. So they also, the Washington County Chairman, Brian Lester, was caught trying to add delegates to his list of state convention delegates. He had no authority to do that, but he tried. And there was other county committees that did that as well. So that was always their plan. They hoped that their plan A would just be successful. They would go in, they would run the convention, we wouldn't be heard, not enough of us would show up, and they would have a short meeting, get everything they wanted, and move on. That was their plan A, but this was always plan B. Let's make no mistake about it. This was always plan B. Plan B was always to get it overturned where they had the votes. That is clear. Barbara Tillman, before the state convention even started, was in the hallway, like I said, on video, telling people, it's okay, they're going to try and cause trouble, but we're ready for them. Okay. So this was always their backup plan. I want everyone to be very clear on that. This was always the plan. They never really, truly were going to be okay with anything that was done at the convention. And it's really crazy because they say that, all the rules were broken. And then they even go on to say that at the end, we didn't have a quorum, which we did. But the fact is, if we didn't have a quorum, guess when we voted on the presidential electors at the end? So we didn't have a quorum according to them, but yet 2 days after the convention, they were at the Secretary of State's office making sure that the presidential electors were filed. So if we didn't have a quorum, then those are invalid. So if you want to lie, then you need to just own it. I mean, your lies are going to put our presidential electors at risk because you're throwing a temper tantrum because you didn't like the other stuff we did. We were too dumb to figure out anything else, but we sure figured out the presidential electors, right? Like I said, they waited until they had a meeting or a committee that they knew they had the votes. I mean, it was fairly quickly after that meeting where they illegally voted to attempt to overturn the state convention. Joseph Wood sent out an email to the county chairs with the new platform, which is crazy because since June 8th, people have been asking for the new platform and rules, and they had gotten no responses at all. So it's crazy. They already had this set up. I mean, they had this out so fast, there's no way that it was not already planned. It's pretty crazy how they actually think that anyone actually believed that this was all organic, and she just happened to file a complaint, and we just happened to vote to approve it, and we just happened to already have the platform and rules change already updated. No one believes that. Even the people on their side can't even believe it because you would sound ignorant. But then I guess he saw where someone was asking for the state convention delegate list. So then Joseph Wood turns around and emails the county chair saying the RPA does not give authority to the state convention chair to receive the state convention delegate list. How does that work, that the RPA doesn't give authority to the state convention chairman, who is the chair of the body who has the final authority on all party matters? Where does the RPA chair come in and have any authority to do anything when it comes to the state convention? Because he was not elected as the state convention chair. He lost by over 100 votes. Where does he get his authority? He gets it from the state convention. So did the state convention give the RPA chair any authority to overturn what they did? No, that would be stupid. No one believes that was done. It wasn't. He has no authority to do that. And the fact that he puts that in writing and he actually used to be a judge is amazing to me, actually, because you can't be this oblivious to how you look. You just can't. And then he sent out an email to the legislators and made sure that they knew that he did what he was told. That's what he sent to them. He sent them an email saying, you still have a vote at the state the state committee. I told you because he had sent out an email previously saying that he was not okay with that being done. And their voice is still going to be heard, and basically saying, I did what I was told. Now praise me. That's what that email did. People, if you were a state convention delegate, and if you weren't, you have to realize this is not the way it works. We cannot allow this to stand. If we allow 18 people to sit in an executive committee meeting and vote to overturn the will of the state convention delegates, which was hundreds of people from all over the state, we will never have a honest and fair state convention again. Because if we allow this to stand, then guess what? Anytime that they want to throw a temper tantrum or they don't like what the state convention did, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to overturn it at their state convention or state committee meeting with their 18 yes men. It is ridiculous to believe that this is the way it works. It isn't, and it is not allowed to be done. The RPA has no authority to overturn the state convention. They have no authority to silence the will of the state convention delegates. They have no authority to sit in a meeting and overturn anything the state convention did. I want everyone to be very clear on that. And I'm going to read exactly where that states that in our RPA rules. In our RPA rules, Article 1, Section 1B states, and this is really on the second page, I believe. It states, the final authority in all party matters shall rest in the biennial Republican State Convention, which shall be deemed to have delegated such interim authority to the state committee and executive committee as is necessary to carry out the purposes and objectives of the party. Where does that state that the RPA leadership or 18 executive committee members on a power trip get to overturn what the state convention did? It doesn't, because they can't. So I really hope that everyone understands them doing this is a slap in the face to the state convention delegates and to every member of the Republican Party of Arkansas. What they are trying to do and lying and manipulating to say that they can do is to overturn the final authority. The convention actually delegates power to the state executive committee and the state committee to do the business of the party. They don't delegate power to overturn the business of the state convention. That would be like if our state legislature all got together and they made a law, and then a committee of 18 people got to overturn a law for the entire state just because they didn't like it. How stupid would that be? It wouldn't happen because it makes no sense. It makes zero sense for them to think that they can do this. And we know that they're not dumb enough to think that they can do this. We know that this is just their Hail Mary. They're just saying, oh, well, we're going to try this. This is our last shot. And if we get, if we've got people who will side with us, but we hope that it'll just work out for us. It's not going to work out. It's not going to be upheld. It's against the law. It's against our RPA rules. In the last year of being involved in the Republican Party of Arkansas, this has been the most chaotic, unorganized, and divisive year that I have ever been involved. Why? Because we elected the governor's choice of state party chair who has in 1 year not learned the rules, not learned how to lead a meeting, and has not learned that the people rule. It is ridiculous. And if Joseph Wood was at any other job, he would be fired because you probably can't even work at McDonald's without learning the rules after a year. It is absolutely ridiculous to think that after a year, the state party chair who is paid by the party cannot even read the rules and learn them. He either doesn't care or he's just there to do what he's told. I have my own opinion. I will keep it to myself. However, I think it's clear. This is a ridiculous attempt by 18 members of the State Executive Committee to overturn the will of hundreds of state convention delegates, and we cannot let it stand. So I do not know what exactly the next step is. I do know that people that know a lot more than me are working on that, but it is very clear that this is not the way the Republican Party of Arkansas works. This is not what our rules state. And if anyone is worried about rules being followed, they need to look straight to the RPA leadership and the executive committee because they've literally broke every rule that is listed in the sections that they're claiming to be using. They gave their notice was 3 days. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous and cannot stand. And I know I keep repeating that, but I just want everyone to understand how ridiculous this is and how irrelevant the opinion was, even the complaint, because no one's seen the complaint. Anytime that a complaint is made, the person that's being complained about gets to see it. No one's seen this complaint. And it also wasn't even done by 5 people. It was done by one lady who is angry and always on a power trip. That's it. If anyone else signed it, show us the proof. If this complaint was done, send it out. Because at the end of the day, wasn't it a complaint made against all the state convention delegates? Because they're the ones who voted. So why would the state convention chair and state convention delegates not get to see the complaint that was made against them? I would assume that if you are sure of your complaint and you know that you're right, then you would be happy to post it somewhere on the website or email it out to every state convention delegate. If you're so sure of the rule violations, then please, by all means, show us the complaint so that we can all see what your complaints were. So I know that I have given a lot of information. I just want everyone to understand how important it is for the grassroots Republicans, the state convention delegates, to be patient, stand strong. We know that we are not in the wrong. We did not break any rules. The rules were followed. The people who were helping to make sure the rules were followed, they know the rules. They don't want to break rules. They are actually very careful not to break rules. So I just want everyone to understand that there will be next steps, and we need everyone to just be patient until we get everything worked out and to see what would be the best option to go forward. So I hope I've explained things a little better. I hope you understand what rules that the RPA broke and why this is irrelevant. When I post this podcast, which will probably be tomorrow, I'm going to also post the rule to go back and so you can read it for yourself, because it's very clear in black and white. Anyone can understand it. You don't have to be an attorney or an RPA chair to understand the rule. It's very clear. I mean, it is very basic. It lays it out easily for anyone to understand. So I'm also going to add those rules so that you can go look them up. And I will add a link to the Conduit article that showed, 1, everything we did at the state convention. And then 2, there was an interview done by Sarah Dunklin, who is the first district chair. I will also add the link to that so that you can see what she says. Thank you for listening.